Devon Levi going right back in. He is going to start against the Florida Panthers on Tuesday night in the heat of this East playoff race.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As I realize now that my nap alarms were still on, so let me turn those off for you real quick. Welcome into the show. Sneaky Joe DiBiase at Sneaky Joe Sports to follow me on Twitter. Always looking to get involved and get fan engagement on the show. So at Locked On Sabres, if you're looking to get in touch with us on Twitter for the show. And also, of course, on our YouTube channel, just search Locked On Sabres and you can hit us up there. It is Masters Week, of course, so that's why I got my Masters-themed Buffalo hat on. And it is also a week that is going to be warm out, and it's going to be shorts weather, and we're going to be caring about Sabre games, and that is awesome. I tweeted about this way back when, about I can't wait for meaningful games in shorts again. Going down to the arena, I saw somebody tweet a picture out of Sabre fans in probably 99 going to the then Marine Midland Arena wearing shorts. Sun is out, pre-gaming for a Sabres home game. And I'm looking at that picture, like, oh, that looks amazing. That looks absolutely amazing. I don't think we're going to get that, actually, because Sabres have a couple of road games this week, Tuesday in Florida and then Thursday in Detroit. Saturday, they are home to play Carolina for a 12:30 game, but the high that day is 49 degrees. So maybe I'll force it. Maybe I'll wear shorts in 49-degree weather. We've got a lot to get to, though, on today's show. We're not going to do a full deep dive of the Panthers-Sabre matchup. We'll do a little bit on it, including what the Sabres lineup. We have big lineup news about the Sabres. In terms of the actual matchup and any betting stuff that I've got, sneaky good bets that'll come on tomorrow's show. But we do have some updates on both the Sabres goalie situation, the Panther goalie situation, and Tage Thompson. So all that ahead. And then we will take a look at the hunt. Going into this week, who do the Penguins have? Who do the Islanders have? Where are the standings looking? I got all that for you ahead, and I've got a pretty easy way of looking at the next 6 games and imagining the Sabres getting in. So all that is ahead. We will start, though, today with the big news that Devon Levi is going to start. Not official, but I'm running with it. I'm saying Devon Levi is going to start. He was in the starter's crease throughout Monday's practice, which usually implies that guy's going to be in net. It almost always is. And it was Eric Comrie and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen splitting the other net. Craig Anderson still not back at practice. He has been day-to-day for a little bit here. Now, Levi starting against Florida, that's something, right? I mean, this is, with where the standings are, and we'll get to it later on, but the Sabres are 4 points back of the Panthers, still alive. It's their biggest game in 10 years. 11 years, like it is the biggest Sabre game in over a decade. It's the final 2 weeks of the season, and they are still alive, and they are playing a team that is right above them, one spot above them. And they're going to be starting a kid who's played one NHL game. And that might sound crazy, right? Like Devon Levi's played one game. And yeah, it was great, but one game. And you're going to start him in the biggest game in a decade? And my response to that would be, hell yeah, you are. Because I completely agree with this decision that we think Don Granato is going to end up making. Levi, for how fantastic he was on Friday night, and then, even Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen playing really strong and getting a good win against the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday night. And he stopped, 39-42? Played great. I would go to Levi. The reason I would go to Levi and not Luukkonen or Comrie is I'm just shooting for the unknown. I'm shooting from the hip, hoping that this guy gets hot down the stretch. Because here's the thing about the other goalies. Anderson's not available. And if you're the Sabres and you're Don Granato, you know you can't trust Eric Comrie over a 7-game stretch to get hot. You know And at this moment in time, at age 23, you cannot trust Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to stay hot over 7 games. And let's be real, the Sabres, to go on the stretch they need to go on, they probably need a goalie to get hot. And Comrie just has bad games too often mixed in there. Even when he has a couple nice ones, boom, there's the 10-goal one. And I don't want to, completely lay that at his feet, but he did allow 10 in a game. And then Luukkonen in the next game gave up 7. Both of those guys, at least every third game, if not every other game, have a really bad start. And that type of inconsistency is not going to get the Sabres to the playoffs. Now, I'm not telling you I know Devon Levi is not going to have a game like that. That Devon Levi, if he plays 5 of the remaining 7, that he's not going to have a game or 2 like that. I don't know. He's played 1 game, and that is way too small a sample, of course, to judge what he'll be even over a 2-week span. But I know Luukkonen and Comrie can't do it, right? I know they can't do it. We've seen it. They've had their chance. They've had a whole season to prove they should be starting these games. And the only reason they would even be in consideration to start these games is because they're the only guys on the team, and the Sabres didn't make a move at the deadline. It's the only reason Luukkonen and Comrie would even be in consideration to play games this meaningful. Levi, I don't know. Maybe he could get hot. And I have more confidence exploring that unknown of what Levi would look like playing 5 of the 7 games than I would Comrie and Luukkonen splitting it, or one of the two that he's riding with them. Luukkonen would be the guy. I guess my preference would be Luukkonen if they were going to play one of those two. But here's where I'm at. And this is not something I think is actually going to happen with Don Granato. I would guess Comrie and Luukkonen both see the net again, and they will stick with this 3-man rotation they have if Anderson doesn't get back. If Anderson comes back, then that might complicate Granato's rotation. But here's what I would do. And this, again, is a big if. I don't know Anderson's injury situation other than he's day-to-day, and he's not a practice. In a perfect world, where you told me, I went to the trainer and asked, all right, when do you think Craig's going to be ready? And that trainer told me, I think if you gave him a week, he could get back. If I were Don Granato, I would set a plan in motion that would be this. All right, if I can get Anderson back in 7 days, today is, this day recording, April 3rd. If I can get Anderson back in 7 days, I've got a game against the Rangers that day, next Monday. And I've got 3 games up until then. I've got Florida on Tuesday night. I've got Detroit on Thursday night. And I've got Carolina on Saturday night. If I'm Don Granato, what I'm shooting for is to go Levi, to lead me into Craig Anderson returning. That is where I would be shooting. That's what I'd be shooting for. Now, you might have to alter that plan if Levi plays a game, 2 games, 3 games, what he looks like against Florida. If he gives up a 7-burger against the Panthers, then of course you change your plan and maybe you throw Luukkonen in there. At that point, the season's probably over anyway because of how much the Panther season means. But if Levi, falls on his face against the Panthers or against the Red Wings, maybe beats the Panthers and doesn't look good against the Red Wings, and they want to pivot to Comrie or Luukkonen against Carolina, that's something they would, of course, take by ear. But if in my perfect world, Levi would play well enough to earn all 3 of those games, and they're all spaced out. It goes every other day. They play the Panthers on the 4th, they play the Red Wings on the 6th, and they play the Hurricanes on the 8th. If everything went well with him in goal, I would go Levi. And then Anderson returns from injury, ideally if he could, and he starts against the New York Rangers next Monday night. Because here's the thing about the final 5 days of the season. The Sabres are going to be busy. They have 4 games in the final 5 days of the year. They go Rangers, Devils, Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday of next week. Then they go Senators, Blue Jackets, Thursday, Friday. Mostly that's because of the storm reschedules from the winter. So you can't play one guy 3 or 4 of those games, I don't think. So to me, that's a way to get Levi 5 of the remaining 7 games. Anderson hopefully could be back within a week. He's the guy you would trust more than Comrie and Luukkonen. He has earned that. He has been far better statistically all season than those two have. And you would be asking him to play 2 games in 3 nights. And that might be a lot for him. But man, it would be like, Craig, hey, you're 41. This is it. This is it, buddy. Can you do it? Can you give us 2 strong games in 3 nights and then ride off into the sunset? That's your career. I guess he could play in the playoffs if they were to somehow get in. That's where my mindset would be. Levi, Anderson, Levi, Anderson, Levi. You go back and forth between Anderson and Levi for those 4 games and 5 nights at the end. And yes, in my plan, you don't play Luukkonen or Comrie again. But I think the best outcome this season could have does not involve those 2. Levi is your great unknown, and Anderson's been your best goaltender all season. So that's where I'd be. We'll take a time out here. Some lineup stuff about Florida and the Sabres going into Tuesday night's game before we tomorrow we'll preview the game in full. And then, of course, we'll update you on the standings and look at what the other teams ahead of the Sabres are doing this week. That's ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, and we are presented by, let me get the right sponsor here, Athletic Greens. AG1. I love AG1. I start my morning with it every morning. AG1 is the right supplement for me. It's the right supplement for you to start your day right. You're getting 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients. It helps support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you're eating keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, as it contains less than 1 gram of sugar. There's no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything while still tasting great. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's the one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Also, Athletic Greens, a climate neutral certified company. In 2020, AG purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests, and for every purchase they donate to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States. In 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to kids in 2020. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, and for on the go, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do, visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Welcome back, Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres have a huge game, their biggest game in 10 years against the Florida Panthers on Tuesday night at sunrise. I think my uncle and cousin are actually going to the game. They're going to be in Florida. They were looking up tickets and like, oh, tickets for $20. I can get in for that. So hopefully there'll be some Sabre fans in the crowd there. I know there were a lot last time the Sabres played in Florida. Now, a couple of lineup notes for Tuesday's game here on Monday. We already know about. 1, Sergei Bobrovsky looks really unlikely to play in this game. He's had an illness he's been dealing with. Got sick last week. He missed 3 games. Alex Leon, the backup goaltender, started all 3 of those games. And Bobrovsky is still not well. So it sounds like if you read George Richards, who covers the Panthers down in Florida, Florida Hockey Now, he writes that he does not think Bobrovsky is going to play on Tuesday night. So that would mean Alex Leon again. Now, Leon actually won all 3 of his decisions last week. But on the season as a whole, we're not talking about a good goaltender. This is actually their 3rd string goaltender. But Spencer Knight has been away with his the what do I call it? The rehab program. I'm not sure it's the right name for it. So apologies if it's not. But Spencer Knight is away from the team. Bobrovsky is sick. Alex Leon, 3rd string goaltender, .896 save percentage on the season, not good whatsoever. And he will be between the pipes, assuming Bobrovsky does miss. So that's good for the Sabres. Another backup goaltender. Now, another good thing for the Sabres, Tage Thompson appears to be back. He was practicing with the team on Monday morning. No, full jersey, all contact and whatnot. And he was taking line rushes. He was skating between Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuch. Now, the question, of course, would be with him dealing with an upper body injury, how much can Tage give them? Can he give them what he was doing at the beginning of the season? Probably not. Not a guy that could just take over the game beginning to end. He has not really looked like that in a little bit. But we are still talking about a productive player that is helpful. He had 2 goals in his last 3 games even, right? Like, he doesn't look quite the same as dominant, but 2 goals in 3 games. He's able to contribute even though he has not been himself. Now, Thompson being back in, if that indeed is the case, which it appears it will be, it's the healthiest the Sabres have really been in a long time. I don't even know when the last time they've been this healthy. Anderson is missing. And otherwise, like Matthias Samuelsson is back now. Looks like Tage Thompson is back now, and he's dealing with bumps and bruises. But it means either Tyson Jost or Victor Olofsson are going to exit the lineup. They were splitting time on their line with Casey Middlestat on the third line and Jordan Greenway at practice. I would guess Olofsson's out. Total guess, I would guess Olofsson's out. Jost is in. I think that's the right decision, by the way. I think that line is better with Jost on it. I would sit Olofsson if I were Don Granato, and I think he is going to end up sitting Victor Olofsson. But we will see on Wednesday who actually will sit. By the way, quickly on Casey Middlestat, quick shout out. He had 3 assists in the Philadelphia game, helped Alex Tuch get to his hat trick, and Middlestat actually did a pretty good job filling in for Tage Thompson. I wanted Peyton Krebs on that line, but Middlestat did a good job. He was not great in the second game against the Rangers, I didn't think, but 7 assists in 3 games, filling in for Tage Thompson. Again, helped Alex Tuch get his hat trick. He is now at 49 points on the season. Middlestat's having a nice year. I'm not sure he's quite a core piece of this team yet, but he's certainly not somebody I would need to rush off and trade away. Now, if you want to trade him, that's the sexy idea too, right? Like you get a defenseman back for him, maybe get a goaltender back for him. 49 points, 10 goals, 39 assists. He's going to get to 50. Good job by Middlestat. I thought filling in as the number 1 center. Not incredible, but he should never be asked to be the number 1 center in the first place. So a serviceable job, I think, to say the least. All right, one more time out when we come back. The hunt. Let's look at it. I've got a record I think the Sabres can go on that will make the last night of the season still meaningful. And also what the Penguins are doing this week, what's coming up next for the Islanders and the Panthers as well. All ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We are brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because you like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, one last segment here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We'll answer some questions, some mailbag questions on our YouTube channel and Locked On Sabres. So keep those coming in, and we will read those on Tuesday morning show. The Hunt. An updated look at the Hunt. So I'm going to put it up for all our YouTube subscribers. If you look at the standings at this moment, the Sabres are 5 points back of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they do have 2 games in hand. They really have games in hand on everybody. 2 games in hand on Pittsburgh, 2 games in hand on Florida, 3 games in hand on the New York Islanders. So 3 games in hand on the Islanders, right? Like they win all 3 of those games. They're tied with the Islanders. They win their 2 games in hand on Florida, and they beat them head to head, and they're ahead of Florida. Pittsburgh, they'll need a little help. 2 wins with the games in hand, and the Penguins would be 1 game ahead of them. Now, this is what you can look at for the rest of the season that will have you thinking optimistically about the Sabres' chances. If the Sabres in the next 6 games go 4-1-1, not easy, hard, but not impossible. Not having to set some crazy record to pull off. If the Sabres go 4-1-1 in their next 6 games, that would likely need to include a win against the Panthers. The Panthers could go 3-2. The Penguins could go 3-2. And I don't even need to throw the Islanders into this. Just Sabres go 4-1-1. Panthers and Penguins both have a winning record at 3-2. And the final night of the season, Sabres at Blue Jackets would be a win and in to make the playoffs. That's easy. That's how easy it is. I mean, it's not easy because you have to win 4 of your next 6 and get a point in overtime. That's hard. That is, it's 9 of a possible 12. But doable. Doable, I think, to say the least. So That's one way of looking at it to have you thinking optimistically. Go 4-1-1 in your next 6 games, and you probably are going to have a look at it on the final night of the season. And that, again, is not even including the Islanders, which there are plenty of scenarios where they make it easier for the Sabres to make it too. If, they have a hard schedule, the Islanders, and only 4 games remaining. Now, what's next? We have Sabres and Panthers head-to-head on Tuesday night. That's huge. Huge game because of the standings. Now, Pittsburgh is next in action tomorrow night as well. Tuesday night, they are at the New Jersey Devils, so a tough matchup for the Penguins. And the Devils are favored, -155, a pretty significant favorite in this game. So you're rooting for the Devils, and I think you could be pretty hopeful the Devils will pull that off. Devils are a great team, a far better team than the Penguins are, and it's in their building. Next up for the Islanders, they don't play until Thursday. Islanders host the Lightning. Not an easy game for them either. That's their next game on Thursday night. Florida, after they play the Sabres on Tuesday, will then play Ottawa at home on Thursday night. And the Penguins will host the Minnesota Wild. So Thursday is going to be a big night. Sabres will be in action against the Red Wings. Florida has a not the easiest matchup in the world against Ottawa. Pittsburgh has got a fairly difficult matchup against a playoff team in Minnesota. In fact, Minnesota is going to win their division, it looks like, in the Central. And then the Islanders have a matchup with a tough Lightning team. So there is a couple of different ways to look at this and think about it optimistically. I will just throw it out there, even though I'm trying to think more positively about these final games. They do only have like a 5% chance to make the playoffs at some of these websites. It feels like more than 5. But I'm a numbers guy, and I'm gonna for the most part reside by the numbers. But it's for some reason it does feel more. It feels like it's more than 5%. We'll see what happens if they beat the Panthers tomorrow. How high that might get. But anyways, we'll have more on Sabres and Panthers tomorrow. We'll have a mailbag segment. So send some questions in, and we'd love to answer them on the show and talk about them here on the show. If they're takes too, you can just send a take in, and we'll read that as well. But otherwise, we'll let you know officially about Thompson. The lineup news, Jost versus Olofsson. We'll see what happens there. Official word on Sergei Bobrovsky. I'll have sneaky good bets, and we'll look more at the matchup itself. The Sabres have had problems with the Panthers, so we'll get into that a little bit more on tomorrow's show. So thanks everybody for listening. Come back tomorrow for one of our biggest game previews, actually our biggest game preview of the season. After you're done here, go make your next listen Locked On Game to Game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NHL with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.